Good afternoon, council members. My name is Galen Brooks. I'm President and CEO of the Rochester Downtown Development Corporation. Thank you so much for the time, for having me here today, and for the opportunity to present to you a little bit about the New York State process for bid formation and business improvement districts, as they're referred to. I'm a planner with a degree from NYU in city planning and a background in economic development. And for the better part of a decade, I've worked for two different pre-existing business improvement districts in the District of Columbia. This work is exciting to me because bids allow for the generation of new resources to improve quality of life, access to opportunity, community connection, and pride, bringing private sector resources to bear in the public environment in ways that build on success, drive energy and enthusiasm and civic pride, and work to lift up downtowns in order to lift up their city. RDDC, the Rochester Downtown Development Corporation, is a 501c3 nonprofit which has existed for close to 40 years and been focused on driving the economic vitality of downtown under 4 core values: excellence, integrity, diversity, equity, inclusion, and sustainability. We also stood up a group called the Commissary during the pandemic. It serves 40 plus small businesses in downtown that focus on food and beverage, providing them with a prep kitchen and incubator, and has been hugely successful. You may have also heard of the Rochester Downtown Partnership. In my new position, I serve as the executive director of that recently stood up public-private partnership, founded in part to oversee potential for a business improvement district for downtown and the riverfront, as recommended by the Rock the Riverway Management Entity Study. Before I get into business improvement districts and the business improvement district process for potential formation, I wanted to back up and focus on key needs at the heart of this effort. There have been former business improvement district efforts for downtown, but those were shut down and ended many years ago. This one is just getting off the ground, with the vote in question relating to the initiation of a preparation of a plan for what a bid could be. There are two main drivers that bring us here today. First off, downtowns everywhere have been thrust into challenging new conditions in the last few years. Workers are staying home, there's more choice and movement and tenancy, and bids are a tried and true tool to help combat disinvestment in the urban core, build on the pre-existing energy and enthusiasm in downtowns, facilitate growth and recovery, and serve as an effective steward of place to help foster collaboration, support, setting the table for complex multi-stakeholder discussions and initiatives to create inclusive and thriving economies. The other needed driver of this work, not to be forgotten, is the Rock the Riverway initiative that is underway right now. As part of the vision, one of the 13 projects was the formation of a management entity for park spaces. More recently, a study was completed through the leadership of the city and the participation of council to evaluate what it is best suited to be, and a bid was identified as that type of entity. So what is a bid? Bids happen when the private sector chooses to pool new resources to fund programs and services in a given geography that are additive and supplemental to existing city services. There are at least 1,200 in the U.S. alone. They exist in countries all over the world, in towns and cities throughout upstate New York. Each is unique. As place-based organizations, they vary in their mission, approach, and the new programs and services they bring to their areas. A basic tenet of bid work is business support, retention, and attraction. But a lot of what bids do is build strong, connected, thriving, and resilient communities. The first bid was formed in the 70s in Toronto in response to the rise in popularity of the suburban mall and the disinvestment in the urban core. The folks there got together and said, what are they doing that we're not? How do we compete more effectively with the suburbs? So they chose to pool resources to fund collective activities like marketing and events and environmental services to make sure people knew about, loved, and kept returning to their downtown. Like many fields, bids are evolving with new learnings and contexts. And bids like the one I just worked for in downtown DC are embracing a strong, socially conscious approach. For example, the downtown DC Business Improvement District runs a day service center for people experiencing homelessness, and has also done some work focusing on workforce development for its ambassador staff. What are some examples of the work that bids do? Depending on how they're set up and the needs and priorities of the area they serve, they can do a lot of different things. Business improvement districts can act as conveners, bringing stakeholders, partners, and the community together to address issues and strategically plan for the future. They often engage in marketing and events and can focus on public spaces such as parks or activities like environmental services or beautification. They also support small and local businesses and can host classes, networking events, provide connections to resources and partnerships and advocacy. Some local examples of business improvement districts are shown in the photos on this slide, with Geneva, Buffalo, and Syracuse all represented. The bottom left-hand corner is an example from Washington, D.C. This is the Franklin Park project, which I had the pleasure of working on in my role with the Downtown D.C. Business Improvement District. It is the site of the first public restroom in downtown, a long overdue initiative and resource. Another example of a project that I worked on in downtown DC was the Pandemic Assistance Grant Program, where we distributed close to $1 million to small and local businesses in need during the pandemic. Some other examples of business improvement districts you might not know regionally include Ithaca, Syracuse, Buffalo. But bids also exist in Canandaigua, Geneva, as I mentioned before, and Auburn. Two other examples that people may have seen in their travels include Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, the Center City District has a uniquely instrumental role in the visioning and rehabilitation of parks and public spaces. You see an image here in the bottom left-hand corner of Dilworth Park in the heart of Center City that has been an enormous success in its rehabilitation and offering to the people of Philadelphia. There are well over 100 bids in New York State today, and indeed, there is a stringent and long-standing process that has evolved over the years that potential bids need to go through to be established. This is a minimum, but I wanted to highlight some of the nuts and bolts for you here as prescribed by New York State law. We're at the beginning, and in our case, the potential vote would initiate the preparation of something called a district plan. The district plan is the guiding document for the establishment of a bid and would have to be voted on multiple times by council to be approved once it's proposed. The development of a proposed district plan will take a long time and be completed with a comprehensive community engagement strategy. As I mentioned earlier, we are starting from scratch here to begin the process necessary to come up with a plan for what a potential bid could be for downtown. This is a process that will take at least 2 years. We're committed to ensuring that it is centered by a robust and accessible community engagement push. You see here a tentative timeline, including 4 community meetings, 2 community surveys, and multiple opportunities for input. But I want to stress 2 things. 1, you may have seen other documents that have come before. This is a process starting now and will be informed by the community. And 2, we are asking for your input on this proposed process, and we'll be posting it on our website in the coming days for broader feedback. After the first phase, focusing on community engagement, the second phase would move on to the drafting of the district plan. And 2 opportunities for structured input would be included in subsequent rounds through the sharing of the district plan and public comment periods. After this phase is completed, the legislative and approval process could begin with the formal opportunity for input and review by the local publicly elected officials, the holding of a formal public hearing, and several votes by the City Council to potentially approve the district plan. To initiate the legislative process for potential approval of the district plan in a business improvement district downtown, a minimum of 51% of the assessed value of property in the proposed area and a minimum of 51% of all owners within the proposed area will have to approve the district plan for it to advance. As part of the legislative process, the mayor would need to approve the proposed plan, the council would need to vote to advance the proposed plan, there would need to be a public hearing held, and circulation of announcements about the public hearing and the proposed plan, and there would need to be a review by the state comptroller to sign off on and certify the decision by the City Council to potentially approve the proposed district plan. This stage will, of course, also require ongoing engagement with stakeholders, the City Council, and the broader community. As I've laid out in this presentation, this process is long and layered and holds many opportunities for public input. Indeed, its success is reliant on it. The organization I represent is acting as a steward of this process, and we're fully committed to it being accessible, balanced, and responsive, because we know that the community is what makes a place. We will use tried and true methods of community engagement, such as those shown above, to reach a wide and diverse audience. To reiterate, we need your input and are committed to being a steward of a balanced and inclusive process to draft a vision for a potential business improvement district for downtown and the riverfront. Similar to how we are seeking input on the community engagement plan, we would also like to explore a potential management structure for any arts funding attached to this process or a potential future bid. There's an opportunity here to ensure that the local arts community is at the center of any potential planning. We want to hear from you, and we'll be seeking feedback to build a process that is appropriate, respectful, and supportive. I very much look forward to the conversation ahead, and thank you for your time.